So we stand before us. What stands before us is a model, and of course I'm referring to what's on the screen, not to myself. Sorry. You're gonna be so glad for the weekend, aren't you? Just a point there. I can't resist. Jeff, do you have your bag? Yeah. This is an AnyLogic bag exhibited by a model, and you'll notice there's a logo on it. It says "We work with supermodels," so they gave me one of those bags. I actually, I didn't like the logo, so we removed it surgically in my family. My wife was happy to help with that. But there is. Yeah, right. Okay, so we have here this model, and we're going to build on this model further now. We're going to build on a couple components of this in particular. So the first thing that I want to do is that I think is going to be important for some of what's coming up on the health economics side is I want to talk about how to collect a little bit of additional pieces of information. And I want to use this to get you thinking about how do you approach issues in AnyLogic. So I'm going to challenge you folks now. I'm going to challenge you. And Jeff, please bar the door. And let's suppose, ladies and gentlemen, that I wanted to keep track on a per-person basis of the number of times that a given person has become obese. The number of sort of episodes of obesity associated with a person. How would I do that? Sorry? Give a Fitbit. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm all ears. Get there, get that. Okay, but fortunately, so it is with the world, indeed. And when we come into that issue, we deal with ethics offices, and we deal with participant incentives, and we deal with the vagaries of the technology. But fortunately, we're dealing here with a modeled environment, a simulated environment, where we can actually pursue experiments that are not encumbered by all those sort of details. So if in this model, I wanted to keep track of the number of times a given person has become obese, how would I do that? Account. Excellent. So we need to maintain a count of the number of times they've been obese. I love it because it's functionally articulated. That's what we want to accomplish. Now, let me turn to you further and ask, how would we accomplish that count? How do we maintain that count? What would we need in terms of the pieces that AnyLogic provides us? A variable. Excellent. It's a variable indeed. I'm really impressed and happy. So we're going to add a variable in, and whither in the model shall this variable go? Shall it go in main? Shall it go in the experiment? Person, because we're keeping track of that information on a person-by-person basis, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, step by step, let's maintain a variable, and what do you think we're going to do with that variable once we add it? So it's a great start. It's going to be a variable. It's going to represent the count of times to become obese. Sounds great. That variable. It's going to be maintaining it. What are we going to do with it at a high level? What do we need to do? What do we need to do? How is that variable going to? When is it going to change? Under what condition will it change? Good. Every time someone becomes obese, it will go up by 1. Thing of beauty. You're thinking like a computer scientist. Bar that door, Jeff. Okay, so let's go to the palette, and let's add that variable to the person. And I'll make a suggestion for the variable's name. and we can refine that if it sticks in your craw. Okay, it'll be called Count Obesity Episodes, or Count of Obesity Episodes. What do you think? Some people might call it Obesity Episode Count. I like to have count in front of things because it's clear when you first see the name, oh, it's a count, but it's arguable. So this is going to be called, I'll drag it under here, and, I could even drag it up here. I'll call it Count of Obesity Episodes. Count of Obesity Episodes. Oh, it's a bit long. Maybe I'll put it over there, and it'll be to the right-hand side. But it doesn't really matter where it is visually, except it doesn't functionally change the model where it is visually, but it may be convenient to avoid, to kind of see it in situ, sort of where it belongs. It's kind of grouped with the things where it goes. Okay, count of obesity episodes. Now, when we specify a variable, what sort of things do we need to specify about it? Okay, there will be a thing about it changing over time, but what's kind of one of the first things we need to specify? Maybe you said it. Maybe I misunderstood you. Type? The type of it, right? Okay, so you tell me, from the set of options for type, what do you think this is? Is it a Boolean? Is it a string? Is it a person? It's an integer. Yeah, okay. Okay, it's an integer. It's 0, or 1, or 2, or 3. And what's its initial value going to be? Well, we'll assume that people start normal and underweight here. We could actually start them in any place here, which is another episode. But for now, we'll start them here at initial value of 0. Okay? Okay? Is that okay? Okay, great. We are about a third of the way done. Okay, so now where do we need to change that variable? In this, right? In this transition. And where do you think, okay, we're looking at this transition, where do you think we'd put something that does something when this transition happens? Action. It's under the action. Okay, great. Now, trying to figure out how much of the birds and the bees to tell you here. Okay. So what we want to do is, what do we want to do at this action? We increment it, do we not? We do. Okay. Count of obesity episodes. And we could say count of obesity episodes equals count of obesity episodes plus 1. Could we not? And then what do I need after this? A semicolon. Because why do I need that? Because it's a command. We're telling it, do this. Remember when we don't need a semicolon? It's when we're computing a value.
It. Let's compile it, and let's go run that. You want to run it? Shall we inspect? Sorry? The rate just stayed the same. I didn't change the rate. Yeah.
Why did you do it in the transition?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, that's a great question. This would be a case where it arguably would be better put where? At the entry action to this obese state, right? We could put in the entry action there. In this case, I think there's some argument for doing it either place. Putting in the entry action would mean if you came from anywhere, it would be incremented, right? So maybe there's multiple other pathways maybe we'll put in something so people can start obese, and it would increment it that way, or what have you. So if there were multiple transitions in, by putting it in the entry action for the state, we'd be getting all of them at once, covering them all, and that's a real strength. As far as putting it here, well, for one thing, this thing already has a bunch of stuff in it, and I kind of prefer not to add just another line to it. The second thing is this is called becoming obese, and I thought logically it'd be kind of nice to associate this with becoming obese, but honestly, probably I would put it in the entry action to the state on balance. I think that's actually slightly better in this case, but I'm going to leave it here to avoid confusing people. But it's a very good question. And this is another example of how in any logic you could do things in one way or another, and both will work. The real question in my mind, which will be less fragile? And I actually think putting it here in the entry action, you're exactly right. It's probably less fragile here, because if later we say, oh, I'll add another transition, reflecting another route of entry, then I don't have to, I'll be less likely to just forget to update this, to copy this to the new transition too. So probably on balance, it's probably better here. Yeah. So I appreciate your point. Great. Yeah. Mm.
So that was the prevalence
Mm.
of people in that state at any one time. So what we're calculating now is
How many times a given person has, how many episodes of obesity, sort of defined contiguous times of contiguous bouts of obesity a given person, the count of bouts of obesity with which a given person has been subject, to which a given person has been subject. So it's a different thing. It's an individual level measure. And actually, is obese is actually an individual thing. It's either true or false, but we used it to compute this population-wide statistic. Do you remember that? Towards the end? And we're going to actually, we could actually do something similar if we wanted to here. We could total this up across the population. But there was sort of, are you or are you not obese at this current time? This one is going to be, how many times total have you ever been obese in your life? And this would shed more light on like weight cycling, where someone has lost and gained and lost and gained, that sort of thing. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Great. So ladies and gentlemen, I look at this and I feel a measure of, I feel terribly torn in my feelings, okay? This is perfectly correct, it's viable, and do you want to run it? Should we run it? We could see it working. Let's run it. Let's go run our simulation, and let's go down to the level of an individual, and here you notice there's this count of obesity episodes for this person, and I'm going to speed this thing up. Watch this. Look at this. This person has had 1 obesity episode thus far, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're flipping among those. Do you see those? Yeah, okay. See or not? See. Okay, great. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's working okay, but let me show you two ways that we could finesse it a little bit. And you can decide if you want to throw me out of the room or not. So one way is that we could rephrase this using a trick we saw yesterday. Do you remember how we could say A equals A plus something? Do you remember what we could replace it with? Plus equals. We could do plus equals 1. And that makes it kind of clear when you glance at it. Once you know what this means, it makes it clear, oh, we're just incrementing this by 1, increasing it by 1. But it turns out, and this I feel really awkward telling you about, but if you're going to be looking at code, you should know what this means. You can alternatively just do plus plus, and that just means make it one bigger. And any of those are perfectly functional. I would say use the one that you're most comfortable with. This has a certain brevity to it. Plus plus is a certain brevity. It just says make it 1 bigger than it currently is. Clean.
the logic you had before mathematical
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. I will sing the virtues of that as well. It's clear, straightforward, and I'm happy with it. Okay, so I will leave it in that way as a nod to those in the audience. Dylan.
I should have thought of this before, but before you get any further with building things, does it matter that they use their existing models, or did you want them to use the one that we just distributed earlier this morning?
I gave them the option.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they're comfortable with their existing models, yeah, I'm happy. Just recognize that if their existing models are at variance in big ways with mine, there'll be some turbulence.
Right. Okay. Sorry, must have missed that.
Okay, good. So ladies and gentlemen, this is good, but you could use it as you see fit. I will put in one more argument. I'm going to put in a function which is going to be called, and I'm tempted to say, get count of obesity episodes or something like that. Sometimes we put get there just to indicate sort of this is, we're obtaining it, and it's going to be, what is it? Is it perform an action or does it return a value? Returns a value, and what type of value? An integer. And what will it return? It will return the value of that variable, okay? Just by calling this, we don't need anyone to know about the name of the variable. They'll just use this function. It provides a function that computes this, and maybe later we'll change how it computes it. Maybe later we'll have three different obese states, obesity class 1, 2, 3, and we'll actually need to keep track of two variables, and the function will just do its job. It will hide all the details for us. Functions are beautiful.
Why are you getting a count of it when you're already getting one? Isn't that what's doing in the previous variable?
Yeah, it's doing this right now, but later we may modify this model so it becomes much more complex, and we may not only have one variable here, but two, or if we had multiple obesity class 1, 2, 3, and we needed to sort of keep track of the number of times we were in each of them, and it's just things can evolve, and so sometimes providing a function hides all that detail from people using who are interested in just getting some simple information from here. So this is arguable. There are many models where I just use this variable. I often like to provide a function that provides access to it, because it basically means that if we have statistics elsewhere, and if we later go in and change things here, add states and add new state charts, as long as the function can do its job, as long as it's updated accordingly, the rest of the model doesn't have to care about it. Doesn't have to care about these changes. And much of the job of software development on the one hand and model development on the other is this art of protecting yourself against change. You're anticipating, well, we might elaborate this quite a bit, and we don't want to unnecessarily, by doing that, we don't want to break other things in the model. So we put in place kind of mechanisms that they can count on elsewhere in the model. No matter what we do here, they don't have to care about it, because they're dealing through a well-defined thing that we just will keep updated. As long as they call this, they'll get the right number. They don't have to worry about all the different ways I'm going to accomplish the internals of this.
Okay, if you were doing a report on that, ideally what you want to do is have some sort of frequency distribution of the, ranked in order of like what proportion of people had 3 or more episodes to whatever.
And that's exactly where we're going right now.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that why we do the get count?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, this is the main reason, because we're going to use it outside of this class. We're going to use it from elsewhere. Okay.
I have a
Question.
Forgive me if I'm being too literal, but Australians and Americans too don't tend to go in and out of obesity, do they?
No, there's, except maybe through interventions.
So you wouldn't modify that somehow?
Well, we could make this rate very, very low. You could remove this rate. You can make this something that's contingent upon an intervention. But I think your point is a good one, that this is often a strict endpoint. So let's go and take a look at this rate. I think we made this rate. Oh gosh, point well taken. So let's make this very, very low. 0.01 per year. So very few people come out of here, out of the obese state in the course of their lives, something like that. We haven't introduced mortality into this. We haven't introduced natality, but we'll do that shortly. Okay? So good point. You could remove that if you wanted to sort of deal with a theory where we don't have it at all, or you could make this contingent on some intervention, bariatric surgery, or the occurrence of extraordinary weight loss, lifestyle modification efforts through an intervention. You could make this something which only you trigger through an intervention. That's also possible. It is a useful thing sometimes to ask what if questions. What if the worlds were different and we could accomplish this transition? How much would it gain us? Because sometimes you'll find you can accomplish this transition and in the end it has only very modest impact unless you also modify this transition a lot, because people go here and then they come back in and then they're trapped again. And so there is sometimes a need to step back from this, what currently goes on, and say, what if we could do this more? How much of a difference would it make? And sometimes you find it makes very little difference. Okay. Great. So we just added that. Another thing that we could do would be to add a. Let's add a. I'm gonna stop that recording. I'm gonna.